In your kitchen pantry, a silent battle is being waged every single day. It's a battle against time, against the invisible forces of decay that turn fresh bread moldy and crisp apples to mush. Most foods we buy have a ticking clock, a definite expiration date. But what if I told you, there's one common food item sitting on your shelf that is exempt from this rule? A food so remarkably stable, it can quite literally last for thousands of years. We're talking about honey. It sounds like a myth. But archaeologists have found pots of it in ancient Egyptian tombs over 3,000 years old, and still perfectly preserved. How is this possible? What makes this sweet, sticky substance a veritable time capsule? It's not magic, but a unique and perfect storm of natural chemistry. Over the next few minutes, we're going to unravel the secrets behind honey's eternal shelf life. The first secret to honey's immortality is its profound lack of water. While it looks like a liquid, honey is what scientists call a supersaturated solution. It's mostly sugar, with a very low water content, typically around 17%. For the tiny microorganisms like bacteria and yeast that cause food to spoil, this is a death sentence. These microbes need water to survive, to reproduce, and to carry out their destructive business. When a microbe lands in honey, the substance acts like a sponge. Through a process called osmosis, the honey, with its high sugar concentration, aggressively pulls the water right out of the microbe's cell walls. Imagine being a tiny organism dropped into the middle of the driest desert on Earth. You wouldn't last long. That's precisely what happens to bacteria in honey. They become completely dehydrated and simply cannot survive, let alone multiply. This property is measured as water activity, and honey has one of the lowest of any natural food, making it an incredibly effective fortress against decay from the very start. But low water content is only part one of honey's defense system. The second secret weapon is its acidity. On the pH scale, where 7 is neutral, honey typically registers somewhere between 3 and 4.5. That's impressively acidic, putting it in the same neighborhood as orange juice, soda, or even a tomato. This acidic environment is another major barrier for any microbe that might have somehow survived the dehydration desert. Most bacteria and fungi thrive in neutral or near-neutral conditions. An acidic world is like a toxic wasteland for them. It disrupts their cellular structures and metabolic functions, making it nearly impossible to grow and reproduce. So, if the lack of water doesn't get them, the acidity will. It's as if honey has created the most inhospitable neighborhood imaginable for spoilage-causing organisms. This acidity isn't an accident. It comes from various organic acids, with the most prominent being gluconic acid, which is produced by the action of a special B enzyme on glucose. This leads us directly to honey's third, and perhaps most ingenious, line of defense. The third secret is a bit of brilliant biological engineering, courtesy of the bees themselves. When a bee collects nectar, it mixes it with enzymes from its own body in a special stomach called the honey crop. One of these enzymes is called glucose oxidase. Back in the hive, as the nectar is processed and the water evaporates, this enzyme remains dormant. But its real magic happens if the honey ever gets diluted with a bit of water. Say, if it were to be used to feed young bee larvae, or if it came into contact with a wound. When that happens, the glucose oxidase enzyme springs into action. It breaks down the glucose in the honey, and in the process, produces two substances, the gluconic acid we just talked about, which maintains the honey's acidity, and a small but steady amount of hydrogen peroxide. Yes, the same stuff you might find in a brown bottle in your first aid kit. Hydrogen peroxide is a powerful antimicrobial agent that inhibits the growth of bacteria. So, honey essentially has its own built-in, on-demand disinfectant system. It's a gentle, slow-release mechanism that keeps the honey sterile and safe, both in the hive and in your jar. This incredible combination of low water, high acidity, and natural hydrogen peroxide is why honey has earned its title as the eternal food. And the most dramatic proof comes not from a laboratory, but from history itself. As we mentioned, archaeologists excavating the tombs of ancient Egypt have made some truly astonishing finds. When Howard Carter opened the tomb of Tutankhamun, among the gold and priceless artifacts were vessels containing honey. Other excavations have reported similar discoveries: clay pots, sealed with wax over 3,000 years ago, intended as food for the pharaohs in the afterlife. Upon opening these ancient containers, explorers found a substance that was, by all accounts, still honey. It may have been crystallized and dark, but its fundamental chemical properties were intact. Reports from the time claimed that some of it was even tasted and found to be perfectly edible. It's a powerful testament to the genius of bees and the simple, elegant science of preservation. The honey had outlasted the civilization that produced it. Now, you might have seen a jar of honey in your own cupboard turn cloudy and solid. This is a process called crystallization, and it's often mistaken for spoilage, but it's not spoiled at all. It's a completely natural process. Because honey is a super-saturated solution of sugars, over time, the glucose can spontaneously separate from the water and form tiny crystals. This has no effect on the quality or safety of the honey, it just changes the texture. And the fix is simple. Just place the jar in a bowl of warm water and stir gently until the crystals dissolve. Never microwave it or boil it, as high heat can destroy its delicate enzymes and aromas. While honey is incredibly safe, there is one crucial exception. It should never be given to infants under 1 year of age. This is because honey can sometimes contain dormant spores of a bacterium called Clostridium botulinum. While harmless to adults, an infant's immature digestive system can't handle these spores, which can lead to a serious illness called infant botulism. So for everyone else, it's a superfood, but for babies, it's a strict no. So, if honey is practically immortal, does that mean you can just leave it open on the counter forever? Not quite. While honey itself is a hostile environment for microbes, we can accidentally sabotage its perfect defenses. The biggest enemy of honey is added water. If you introduce moisture, by dipping a wet spoon into the jar for example, or leaving it unsealed in a humid environment, you can dilute the top layer. This raises the water content enough to potentially allow dormant yeast to awaken and begin fermentation. The result is a sour, boozy-smelling liquid that is no longer good honey. To ensure your honey lasts for, well, practically forever, the rules are simple. Store it in an airtight container, preferably glass, as plastic can be permeable and allow moisture in over time. Keep it in a cool, dark place to protect it from heat and light, which can degrade its quality. And always use a clean, dry utensil to scoop it out. Treat it right, and that jar of honey will easily outlast everything else in your kitchen. For thousands of years, long before we understood the science, humanity recognized honey's special properties. It was our first sweetener, but it was also so much more. Ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all used it as a preservative for other foods, and as a key ingredient in medicine. They applied it to wounds and burns to prevent infection, unknowingly taking advantage of its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory qualities. It was a valuable commodity, traded across continents and revered in countless cultures as a gift from the gods. From the mead that fueled Viking voyages to the sacred offerings in temples across the globe, honey was woven into the very fabric of human history. It was a source of energy, a form of currency, and a symbol of sweetness, health, and prosperity. This wasn't just a food, it was a cornerstone of civilization, all thanks to the tireless work of bees and the remarkable chemistry they perfected. In a world filled with processed foods engineered for shelf life with a long list of artificial ingredients, honey stands apart. It's a testament to the power of nature's own engineering. Through a simple, yet brilliant combination of low moisture, natural acidity, and enzymatic action, bees create a food that is not only delicious, but also a master of self-preservation. The next time you drizzle it over your yogurt, or stir it into your tea, take a moment to appreciate what you're holding. It's more than just a sweetener. It's a product of millions of years of evolution, a piece of history, and a small miracle of natural science sitting in your kitchen. Sweet, simple, and, for all practical purposes, nearly immortal.